The days are long, the temperatures are high, and the comic market is still hot. Summer is in full swing, and it's time for our comics to invest in for the summer of 2021. Let's check it out. 4 times a year, we dig into 10 books to feature in our Comics to Invest in videos. When putting these lists together, we look for books that are a little more expensive than the books we typically feature in our price point specific videos. Typically, the books selected for these lists are either already on the move or books that we expect to gain interest in the market in short order. This list is a great mix of that and features a wide assortment of books. Potential spoilers do lie ahead for the season 1 finale of Loki, so if you haven't seen it yet, you may not want to stick around for the number 1 book. So be warned. I want to take a quick second to thank the sponsor of today's video, 9panel, a new online resource for buying and selling comics. More on 9panel later. Now let's dive into the list. Starting off the list in the number 10 spot is DC Comics Presents 26, the first appearance of the new Teen Titans. Not only is this the first appearance of the team, but it's also the first appearance of Raven, Cyborg, and Starfire. Published in October 1980, this issue kicked off one of the greatest creative partnerships in the history of comics as Marv Wolfman and George Perez began their fabled run with the new Teen Titans. DC Comics Presents 26 has had a strong 2021. Prior to this year, a CGC 9.8 copy had never sold for more than $875. By March 12th, a 9.8 had crossed the $1,000 mark, and the all-time record for a 9.8 was set on July 5th when a CGC 9.8 copy sold for $2,125. With a 90-day average sales price of $1,554 in 9.8, a high-grade raw copy of this book will only set you back about $200. Next up is the first appearance of Marvel's original movie star, Howard the Duck, in Adventure into Fear 19. We've seen Howard pop up in brief appearances in James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy films, which has caused the value of this book to spike in previous years. And while this pick may be far from a sure thing, here's why I like this book. It's a fairly affordable early Bronze Age first appearance. Those things are getting hard to come by. But the main reason I like this book is brought to you by the number 23. Why 23, you might ask? Because there are only 23 9.8 copies of this book on CGC's census. That's less than 3% of all graded copies that come in at 9.8. Due to the limited number of copies that exist, sales for 9.8s are fairly few and far between, with only a single sale recorded in all of 2020, and that came in at $1,750. If you're not a 9.8 purist, then you'll be excited to know that 9.6 copies aren't overly common either, with only 69 copies on the census. A high-grade raw copy of this December 1973 classic will run you just over $100. But with the way the market is right now, if we get a little more Howard in the upcoming Guardians of the Galaxy 3, who knows what might happen with this book. Regardless, if you track down a 9.8 copy, the low census numbers could leave you well positioned for a long-term hold. If we're just meeting, my name's Drew Stewart. I'm the owner of Como Comic Books, a Columbia, Missouri-based comic book vendor. On our YouTube channel, we bring you the best tips and tricks to help you take your comic collection to the next level. If you're interested in comic book collecting or investing in comics, then stick around for more of that. If you're getting value out of the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, or share the video out. All the good things that help support the channel. A long-established pivot in the comic book hobby is that when a first appearance explodes and it prices itself out of range, you turn your efforts towards the character's number 1. Action Comics 1 has Superman 1. Detective 27 has Batman 1. Ultimate Fallout 4 has Ultimate Comics Spider-Man number 1. And Albedo number 2 has Usagi Yojimbo number 1, our number 8 book. Published in July of 1987, Stan Sakai's Samurai Rabbit landed his own series from publisher Fantagraphics, which ran for a total of 38 issues. Albedo number 2 has officially priced itself out of range for most collectors, as copies across all grades now bring thousands of dollars. Collectors are still determined to include Usagi in their collections and have now turned to Usagi Yojimbo number 1 as their consolation prize. With an average price point in 2020 of $448 for a CGC 9.8, 2021 has been good to this issue, as the 90-day average sale is currently sitting at $2,056. An all-time high sale, according to GPA analysis, was recorded just last week, with a CGC 9.8 bringing $2,800 on July 8th. High-grade raw copies are pushing up to $200 right now, and with Netflix working on an animated series set in Usagi Yojimbo's universe, I think this book still has a fair amount of room to grow. Even a man who is pure of heart and says his prayers by night may become a wolf when the wolfbane blooms and the autumn moon is bright. This is a lesson poor Jack Russell learned the hard way in Marvel Spotlight 2, the first appearance of Werewolf by Night, which comes in at number 7. Okay, let's take a timeout. Roy Thomas and Jerry Conway are two of the most prolific Marvel writers of the Silver and Bronze Ages. We can agree on that, right? How did these two masters settle on naming the protagonist in their new werewolf story after a dog breed? Jack Russell. Seriously? Anyway, published in February of 1972, Werewolf by Night was introduced by Roy Thomas, Jerry Conway, and artist Mike Clute. This book has been a bottom feeder for decades, but has been gaining steadily over the last couple of years as speculation related to Marvel's supernatural characters has grown. The thing that Marvel Spotlight 2 really has going for it is scarcity in grade. The CGC census reflects only a single 9.8 copy and just 23 9.6s, meaning that just 1.8% of all graded copies have scored above a 9.4. GPA currently has no sales data on the transfer of the 9.8, and no sale of a 9.6 copy has been reported since October of last year. At that time, a copy sold for $4,400. When another 9.6 pops up, expect it to take a jump, as the last sale of a 9.4 in July 2021 clocked in at $4,458. Raw, high-grade copies are currently passing the $300 mark, and if we get a confirmation for Werewolf by Night for an upcoming MCU project, expect this book to take another jump. I recently met some collectors who spent the last 4 years working with local comic shops, convention dealers, and online sellers to develop a better way to buy and sell comics online. The website is called 9panel.com, and I'm a big fan. Comics on 9panel are listed by comic book sellers and local comic shops from all over the United States. It's easy to search for key books and browse by comic-specific categories. On 9panel, you can buy from as many shops as you want in a single checkout, and all transactions are protected by top-of-the-line security. If you want to sell books, you can set your own policies and create a custom-branded shop page with filter and search features for your buyers. Plus, their smart listing process helps you create better listings in less time. 9panel is a marketplace built just for comics by people who care about comics. So check out 9panel at 9panel.com. Our number 6 book is an issue that still seems rather undervalued despite doubling in value in the last year. Coming in at number 6 is Omega Men 3, the first appearance of Lobo, a DC character that has managed to avoid the myriad of big screen and small screen projects DC has been churning out. Lobo appears on paper to be a slam dunk of a property. That is, if DC or Warner Brothers can stick the landing. Omega Men 3 was published in June 1983 and includes the story Citadel War Chapter 2, Assault on Euphorix. The story was written by Roger Slipher with pencils from Keith Giffen. This book is going to lead me to recommend something I've never done before on this channel. If this is a book you decide to go after, do not waste your money on a raw copy. High-grade raw copies are going in the $100 range right now, but CGC 9.8s are averaging just $380 over the last 90 days, which is still double the average value for 2020 at $193. Why is the 9.8 so cheap, you might ask? Omega Min 3 is the polar opposite of most of the other books we've talked about up to this point. The census is absolutely loaded with 9.8s. In fact, there are more CGC 9.8s on the census than there are copies in any other grade, with 2,286 copies currently graded at 9.8. 36% of the entire CGC population of this book is graded a 9.8. All of that translates into buy one of the readily available 9.8s if you want to invest in Lobo's first appearance. X-Men speculation remains very high in the market, and our number 5 book is about as close as we come to an X-Men book for this list. Coming in at number 5 is Ms. Marvel 18, the first full appearance of Mystique. Mystique has been a long-standing character in Fox's X-Men movies, tracing all the way back to the very first one in 2000. Despite the ups and downs with Fox's X-Men movies, the value of a CGC 9.8 Ms. Marvel 18 has been relatively stable since 2014, with only really one notable deviation in 2016 when the value of this book dropped by about 20%. However, it quickly rebounded and the value stabilized back around $1,000, give or take. And then 2021 happened. Beginning in April, Ms. Marvel 18 has steadily climbed in value. First, there was an $1,850 sale, then a $2,036 sale, then $2,675, and finally, the most recent sale, which happened just over a month ago, came in at $2,650. Published in June 1978, this issue features a cover from X-Men legend Dave Cockrum, a story from Chris Claremont, and interior pencil art from Jim Mooney. A raw, high-grade copy will currently set you back north of $300, but as first appearances of major X-Men villains go, that's not too bad. My personal favorite on this list, our number 4 book, has a few things going for it. It's hands down one of the most iconic comic book covers of the Silver Age. It has one of the most swiped splash pages in all of comics in it, and it also includes the first appearance of a villain so bad he was the top tier menace for more than one superhero. Our number 4 book is Amazing Spider-Man 50, the first appearance of the Kingpin. Let's start at the top on this one. John Romita Sr.'s cover on this issue is hands down a top 5 Silver Age cover and probably a top 25 all-time comic book cover. Once you stop oogling the cover, the hits just keep coming as the classic splash page of Peter Parker walking away in the rain from his Spider-Man costume that he's just thrown in the trash is as iconic of a scene as there is in all of superhero comics. And on top of that, the Kingpin makes his debut. I'll confess to being slightly biased on this one. As you all know, I'm a huge Spidey fan, and J.R.S.R. is my all-time favorite Spider-Man artist. But the market seems to agree with me on this book, as prices have simply been getting crazy on Amazing Spider-Man 50 this year. Last year, CGC 4.0's average sales price was $370. As of the recording of this video, the 90-day average for the same CGC 4.0 is $805, with a recent sale even breaking through the $1,000 mark in June. Again, for a CGC 4.0. Comparable percentage increases can be seen across most grades when reviewing the sales data. However, the census really drops off above 9.0 for Amazing Spider-Man 50, so values sharply increase in 9.2 and above. The classic Spider-Man No More story from Stan Lee and John Romita Sr. was published in July 1967 and really is a must-have for any Spider-Man fan. Mid-grade raw copies are quickly moving towards the upper hundreds of dollars, while it's getting increasingly difficult to find a raw copy of this book in any grade for less than $300. The market seems to think this book is going places. Coming in at the number 3 spot is none other than Submariner number 1. One of the classic May 1968 Marvel comic books, Submariner number 1 includes the continuation of the story from Iron Man in Submariner number 1, which came out of Marvel finally breaking up the anthology titles Tales of Suspense and Tales to Astonish. No more shall Namor and Hulk share a book. Free from the righteousness of Captain America, Iron Man can now prosper in the freedom of his own title. And so it was with Namor. Recently, Namor's spec has cranked up to 11, with lots of rumors floating around that the character is about to make his MCU debut in Black Panther 2. To me, Submariner number 1 is the most accessible book most collectors can go for right now. The issue is plentiful, and when compared to most other Namor keys, it's rather affordable. Very few of us will ever see a copy of Motion Picture Funnies Weekly, never mind actually have the opportunity or ability to purchase one. Not far behind that is Marvel Comics 1, Marvel Mystery Comics 4, or Submariner Comics number 1, all of which were great Golden Age timely books with sizable price tag. Even Namor's Silver Age debut in Fantastic Four number 4 has surpassed most collectors, leaving us with just a few choices. X-Men 6? It's okay. Tales to Astonish 70? And finally, there's Submariner number 1. CGC 8.0 copies have increased in value from an average sale of $542 in 2020 to a current 90-day sales price average of $1,372, with the most recent sale on June 28th peaking at $1,500. High-grade raw copies are closing in on the $2,000 mark, while mid-grade copies are beginning to flirt with $1,000. One thing is for sure, I'd like to have a few of the copies I've sold of this book over the years back. We're on the way to 10,000 subscribers, and I recently announced our first channel giveaway that will correspond with us hitting 10,000 subs. I'll be giving away a Hex X Jim Lee Collector's Backpack to one lucky subscriber, and I may throw in a couple of extra goodies as well. Step 1 in being eligible for the prize is to be subscribed to the channel, so hit that subscribe button. Now, let's get to the top 2 comics to invest in for the summer of 2021. Picture this, a crusty-looking corpse of a character gets his own HBO show, where he introduces a new story each week in a themed anthology show. If you're thinking this show already exists, you're right. But that isn't stopping HBO from giving the Crypt Keeper the axe to make way for the star of our number 2 book, Dead Man, in Strange Adventures 205. While this hasn't been confirmed, the rumors that such an arrangement is being considered has Strange Adventures 205 hitting the radars of a number of collectors and speculators right now. Dead Man makes his first appearance in a story titled Who Has Been Lying in My Grave? From Arnold Drake with cover and story art from Carmine Infantino. This October 1967 issue has seen an increase in interest, and with that comes an increase in value. Currently, raw high-grade copies will run you in the neighborhood of $900 to $1,000, with mid-grade copies coming in at just a few $100s. Sales for CGC 8.5 copies have been strong in 2021, as the issue was averaging a value of $907 in 2020, with the current 90-day average sales price checking in at $1,553. The CGC census is fairly light on this issue, with only 924 total copies graded. Top of the census is 2 CGC 9.6s, as no 9.8 copies have been certified to date. With ties to Justice League Dark, Dead Man seems pretty likely to make an appearance somewhere before too long. Topping the list of our comics to invest in for the summer of 2021 is Avengers 10, the first appearance of Immortus. So many Kangs and so little time. This pick could easily be shared by 3 books. Avengers 8, the first appearance of Kang the Conqueror. Fantastic Four 19, the first appearance of Ramatut. And finally, Avengers 10, the first appearance of Immortus. The catch? They're all the same dude. Ramatut, Immortus, Kang. They're all the same, and they've all been unleashed upon the MCU, along with an infinite number of other Kangs. Needless to say, the multiverse of madness has just kicked off. However, based upon the Kang we saw at the end of Loki Season 1, the top spot goes to Avengers 10. While the show may never officially have come out and referred to this version of Kang as Immortus, his castle and his attire suggest that the Kang variant in Episode 6 was likely Immortus. Published in November 1964, the story titled The Avengers Breakup was written by Stan Lee with interior pencils from Don Heck, and it also rocked a Jack Kirby cover. Recent sales for CGC 5.0 copies show a steep climb in values for this issue in recent weeks. The 2020 average sales price in grade was $135, while the current 90-day average sales price is $497, with the most recent sale topping out at $775 for a CGC 5.0. CGC 8.5 sales have also seen strong price increases from an average sales price of $322 in 2020 to a current 90-day average sales price of $925, with the most recent sale coming in last month at $1,000. Raw, high-grade copies are currently commanding $900 plus price tags, with mid-grade copies bringing in the neighborhood of $300. I think it's safe to say we're all going to be hunting down the mini variants of Kang for quite a while. Movie, television, and streaming IP development continues to drive value for a wide swath of the comic book market. Speculation remains strong for characters that have yet to appear on the big or small screen, and it seems reasonable to think that the market is baking in a lot of value to some of these books. At the same time, there are books that seem to be hiding in plain sight that are oddly undervalued when compared to other books. And really, that's where the opportunity lies. The key to a successful spec is finding the issues that are being overlooked by the rest of the market and to position yourself to take advantage of the situation when the market finally comes around to what you saw before the rest of the crowd. Remember, if somebody is already talking about it, you might be too late. But the earlier you can get in on a developing spec, the more likely you are to be positioned to earn if or when that speculation comes to fruition. Happy hunting out there, collect responsibly, and I'll see you in the next one.